National Corvette Museum. Lemons race September 24th and 25th. So I did a little checklist of all the things that we need to get done real quick for our masterpiece of a car. And I got my must-do list, my maybe list, and my bonus list, which is empty. Replace the oil thermostats on the RX-8. I got some that actually opened quite a bit earlier. It is always easier to maintain a temperature than it is to reduce heat once it's gotten up to temperature. So this should very much increase the longevity of our internals in our engine, because my number one concern as team captain is that everybody gets the race. So the more reliability I have, the more opportunity I have for that. It was very easy. I can probably show a picture or something or some video right here of that, but man, 1, 2, 3. It was a super easy thing to do. We had to get a new harness. Our harness actually expired, unfortunately. The SFI, those harnesses are only good for 2 years. And most companies don't even recertify them, like our Quip Race, they don't even recert them. They just like buy a new one. It's not worth the cost, which is fair. Some of them are like $100, and that is definitely cheap, you know, cost effective. If you get an FIA one though, they last 5 years. So I actually ended up getting a nice Sparco one that has a cam locking system rather than the whole weird ratcheting system. Both are fine, but if one lasts 5 years and the other one lasts 2 years, technically speaking, they cost about the same. So I might as well spend a little bit of extra money to get a nicer system in the first place. Also, this one is a 6-point rather than a 5-point, so it gives your goods a little bit more space, which is important, especially for comfort and long-term racing or endurance racing. That's that. I got that installed as well. Well, me and Thomas were checking the decibel level of our car, because we know that that racetrack does not allow over 105 decibels. So I got a little decibel meter, and we did wide open throttle, and we only hit 100 decibels. Although the Lemons rules say it's 92 decibels, but I don't think they really enforce that too much, because I've heard a lot of cars there and they're way over 92. 92 is kind of streetish. We do have mufflers on ours, and it says just don't do any straight pipes. We have no cats to mufflers. It was 100, should be fine for the track. Black Halo Racing actually sent me, or silencer. So I do have that just in case. We'll have to fabricate at the location though, but what wouldn't be more lemonsy than that? I don't know if I have time to actually get some V-band clamps and make a quick release in and out for that. But that is something that I'd definitely do in the future. That being said though, while we were doing that, we actually realized we found a leak in the engine. And what it was is I had used vacuum caps to cut off a coolant line. Vacuum caps cannot be used for such a thing. They won't withstand the heat. So what I ended up doing is I took the rod out and I welded the plug up and pretty much created my own plug through it and put it back in. So that is actually done. I put that in yesterday. Roll cage padding we got to put back in, because we did take it all out when we were painting the cage, because I wanted to be a little nicer in there and to preserve the cage. The roll cage is the most expensive item on this vehicle, so you might as well protect your biggest investment. Also, it's safety. You don't want it to rust through and pit so much that you actually have to get a new one. But this roll cage is like $2,500. It's a wonderful roll cage, and it clears my head being as tall as I am, but you know, it's also expensive, so we need to take care of it. So I still have a little bit of sanding in the back to do, but I've done most of the front, and it came out all right. I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world. If you get a roll cage, paint it immediately. Or if you can't, spray it all with WD-40. That's what WD-40 is really for. It's water displacement Formula 40. And the side that I did do that on, it really preserved the cage versus the side that I did not. So after I'm done sanding, I actually need to, I guess I could put all the padding on the front now, because I did the front. We need to get a new window. Our Dr. Thomas Kim, he broke the front window when he was working on the interior, and it shattered the whole thing. And it already had a crack or a chip in it, and I do have it in the budget as far as wear and tear on the car. So we have to get a new window installed. That's a phone call. We're not gonna go to the junkyard, just because the junkyard charges $70, plus you have to cut it out if you don't break it there in the hot Georgia heat and then install it. So I'd rather just pay $180 and have some dude come over here And we've already taken out the old one, so maybe they'll cut us a deal. We can get it down to 150, save some money. But we do need to get that done. Rear view mirror, I kind of threw out ours when I threw out the window, and I don't know if the new one's even gonna come with one or anything like that, so I need to weld up. I want to get one of those large racing ones because you definitely want as much visibility as possible, especially with a Hans device. You really can't move your head a lot, so it's nice to have a bunch of mirrors so that you have a nice wide array of visibility so nobody hits each other. Because if somebody hits each other and you have a collision, A, you're gonna get a black flag probably. It's gonna cost you time, and if it's your third one, you're sitting out for an hour. And also, if you bend a fender and it starts rubbing against the tire, the wheel's gonna rip, then you're out of a $220 tire. So it's definitely important as far as safety. Coolant system, water. Oh yeah, I put coolant into the car during the winter time just in case, because it does barely freeze here in Georgia, and I didn't want to have my block crack. And the alternator cable, for some reason, and I did a really good job of it, but the end of the alternator cable just disintegrated with corrosion, and I had it shrink wrapped and everything, so I'm really surprised about that. I don't know what caused that, especially with the whole system being in the off position. So I need to redo the alternator cable. For maybes, I got the splitter. The splitter is rather important to me because I always wanted to build a splitter, but I also need to make sure the air is flowing into the radiator, because if you have enough resistance, the air is just going to rather go underneath it than into it. And every single RX-7 that I've gone by doesn't have their under tray. They're all missing it. So what I'm doing is I'm fabricating one out of wood that will force air in there. Paint the roll cage. It's definitely a maybe. It's not required, but I would like to get it done just so it looks a lot better. And then I got new wheel bearings. Apparently you can only run Mazda wheel bearings in RX-8s. All the aftermarket ones, people tell me stories that after a track day, they are extremely loose from the get-go, which is insane to me, but I've heard it from so many sources that I did not want to risk my team when we get there and we suddenly have to go and source these. So I bought two from Mazda Motorsports. It's a safety item, so it doesn't count against us. Unfortunately, they're like $200 a piece. So that's where that little piggy bank, when you're charging people, comes into play. I'm gonna make another video on race team budgeting. I may not be the most successful team, but I definitely am good at organization, and a big thanks to some other team captains that have come together to help me generate this list. When you're running a team, you have to think about the car long term, and it helps me because this car isn't mine. I'm not coming out of pocket and paying for this car, you know, to be maintained constantly. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I do chip in a little bit of money, but everybody that I charge, some of that money also falls into there as well. Because sooner or later, that engine is going to explode. You're going to have to get a new one. Transmission is going to break. I mean, things go. This car is definitely more expensive than others, but if you don't have constant money going into an account for the car, when those things happen, who's going to pay for it? I don't want to pay for it. It's not even my car. And you have to treat it as such, because otherwise you're stuck with the bill. Oh, but it's his car, he gets to keep it when he sells it. Race cars aren't worth anything. This car was like $13,000 after everything is said and done with safety and all of that. You probably get like $3 grand, maybe, out of it. You can go onto racetrack forums or bring a trailer forums all the time and see race cars. $4,000, comes with 2 engines, 2 transmissions, 18 wheels. You know, they're just like, get rid of it. My team gave up on it, and I don't want to spend all this money to get this or that. Race cars are relatively cheap compared to how much it costs to build them, and that's why they don't really have any value. That roll cage is like $2,400. You ain't gonna get that back. You know, it's when you're building a race car, you're throwing it away, technically. So you need to be having some money left over for when things go bad. And I may not be the most experienced person out there, but I guarantee you there are many teams that have just dissolved over money because nobody wants to pay for it. People get tired of working on it. So that is something to consider. And I only bring this up because we need 3 drivers, because one of our other Georgia drivers had to bow out due to some personal issues. But you have a lot of people, oh, that's too expensive, this and that. Yeah, it's definitely an expensive car, no doubt about it. There are way cheaper cars. Is it in the spirit of lemons? Probably not. It is unique because it's a rotary vehicle and there's generally not a lot of them. Hey, at least it's not a Miata. And you know what? A Miata's got more torque and they're lighter than us. So this is definitely not cheaty if you want to compare the two. And I've seen Mustang GTs out there. So call it what you will. That's why they have A-Class and not everything is a C-Class car. The way I like to think about it, if you're arrive and drive, C-Class, $600. B-Class, probably $800. And then A-Class, you're looking at about $1,000 to run it for a 5-people team. If it's a 24-hour race, you probably run 6 or something like that. You have to consider that it's only going to be so worth it with so many people, otherwise you don't have a lot of drive time. I'm going to do a whole video on budgeting because I'm starting to get in a frustration point this time with people want to argue about cost and this and that. I mean, A, you don't have to drive with us, but B, you know, how many teams have like just run out of money at the track and they're like, oh, we need more money. You know, that doesn't happen with us. You know, there's just a lot of things to consider. And what I'm going to do in my next video is I'm going to break down on an Excel spreadsheet all of the costs that are incurred with things. You know, we have to tow this thing 600 miles. I mean, that's a lot of gas that I don't want to pay for if you have a bunch of arrive and drive people. That ends up being, I don't have my spreadsheet with me, but like $180 or something like that, just on towing. You know, do you have to rent a U-Haul trailer? That's an expense. Who's going to pay for that? This time around, I got lucky and my buddy Jerry Yang from Jerry Yang Races let me borrow his trailer. Cool, team saves money. You know, I am burning a favor, but you know, it's still something there. Tires are expensive. When you get new tires, how much does balancing cost? What about tire disposal? Those are little costs that add up. Should your team captain have to pay for that? No. Well, it's his car. Well, you know, you should treat it as a business. That way it's always going to be self-sustaining. And I see a lot of teams are bowing out or failing because of that. And I don't want to be stuck in that position, especially since it's not my car. So yeah, that's that. These are the things we got to get done. If you are interested in racing with us, holler at your boy. I try to be very transparent with our costs. As everybody that's emailed me, I have definitely broken down with it. I also should have seeked drivers much earlier. I normally do. This time, I don't know where the time got away from me, but I think me and Thomas are probably going to race regardless and just divide the costs. There's going to be less wear and tear in the car, so the wear and tear budget doesn't have to be as high anyway. But yeah, if you're interested, shoot me an email. And I'd love to hear your comments on all of this. Sorry for the rant. Anyways, exciting times, and I will see you at the racetrack. Take it one lap at a time, brother. I'm out.
You know that. Look good. You too.